Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for our press briefing. We've got some very exciting news that we're going to be talking about with regard to the Department of Agriculture. But before we get into that, I just want to ask for everybody's prayers for Officer Herrera, who was shot in the line of duty. He continues to fight for his life, and I ask everybody to send your prayers for him to recover and for his family. It's a very difficult time right now, so our prayers are with him as well. And it does highlight how our men and women in law enforcement put their lives on the line to keep us safe. And we are so grateful for all of our men and women in law enforcement and the sacrifices they make for us. As always, we start off by talking about the pandemic and reminding people to follow our social distancing guidelines. Stay that 6 feet away when you go out in public. Put a mask on when you go to the store. If you're going to be inside in enclosed spaces, is those enclosed spaces when you're close to people that is going to give the virus the opportunity to spread. Wash your hands frequently. Avoid crowded bars and restaurants. All those things are going to be ways to be able to avoid spreading the virus. So please continue to remember those simple rules on how we can slow the spread of the virus, especially as we're looking as we have club sports and going back to restaurants and things like that. Those are all going to be things that will be really helpful to be able to remember, folks. Keep your distance when you're there, wear a mask if you can't, that sort of thing. So, and then of course also with regard to all the things we do, it's designed to be able to help make sure we preserve our hospital system. We've done that very successfully here in Nebraska. We've got 36% of our hospital beds available, 35% of our ICU beds are available, and 84% of our ventilators are available. And we want to continue to make sure we preserve those. At the end of the day, that is the ultimate goal. This is a virus. We cannot stop it from coming. We could slow it down by doing things like keeping that 6 foot distance and wearing a mask and washing your hands. All those things will help slow down the spread of the virus, but the virus is going to be here. Ultimately, what we want to do is make sure we're preserving our hospital capacity so that for anybody who needs that ICU bed, that hospital bed, that ventilator, needs that acute care, we can provide that when they need it. And we've been able to do that successfully here in Nebraska. Another way that you can help fight the spread of the virus is Test Nebraska. Sign up testnebraska.com. We've had over 317,000 people sign up for testnebraska.com. And so that's a great way to be able to if you're going to go visit your grandmother, go get tested, that sort of thing. It's a great opportunity to be able to do that. For testnebraska.com, it is open to anybody who wants to get that test. If you sign up for testnebraska.com, you can start looking to get scheduled. So you can do that right away. We have done over 180,000 tests now through testnebraska.com. We're doing about between 50 and 60% of all the tests are done in the state are done through testnebraska.com. So again, we want to encourage people, sign up for testnebraska.com, go get your test. All right, so one of the things we're going to talk about today is our branding campaign from the Department of Agriculture, straight from the Good Life. And what this is designed to do is to help Nebraska companies, those who are headquartered here or have a significant presence here, to be able to help promote what they do, their products, their services, to be able to expand that, for example, to the export marketplace, or just in general if they want a higher profile, working with the Department of Agriculture. So our director, Steve Wellman, is going to be here in a few minutes, or he's here now, but he's going to come up here in just a minute to be able to talk more about that program and what it all involves. But I want to, again, highlight that as we think about how we get Nebraska growing, that opportunities through exporting what we grow and make here in our state is one of the ways we're going to grow. So, for example, last year we went to Vietnam, and we were able to meet with a number of folks to be able to promote Nebraska products. And that, in turn, inspired a delegation from Vietnam to come to Nebraska last March, right before this pandemic hit us. And in that meeting where they came to Nebraska, they signed a memorandum of understanding to buy about $3 billion worth of our products over the next 2 to 3 years. And right now, Nebraska is the #1 beef exporter into Vietnam. In fact, even with this pandemic, our beef exports to Vietnam are up 56% this year, and our pork exports are up 84% this year. So when we go places and really develop those relationships, we can expand what we're doing with those companies, or those countries. Right now, we are also the #1 beef exporter to the European Union, and also Israel too. Is that right, Steve? So Nebraska makes up 56% of all the beef that is going to the European Union is coming from Nebraska. So again, the relationships we develop are important. That's how we sell our products. We got the best beef in the world right here in Nebraska. We want to go out and highlight and promote that. So that's what we do on these trade missions, and that's where branding ourselves as a state where you get the best beef and all these other great products is so important. And that's why the Department of Agriculture has worked on this Straight from the Good Life program to be able to help Nebraska companies be able to promote what they're doing. So with that, Steve, I'm going to ask you to come up and talk about your catalog and all the great things that you got going on.
Well, thank you, Governor Ricketts, and good morning, everybody. Nebraska's farmers and ranchers consistently lead the nation and are some of the best in the world in producing agricultural products. Many of these grains and meat products are raised here in Nebraska, but they're also processed here in Nebraska to add value and to make them ready for consumers across the world. And it's those companies that partner with our farmers and ranchers, buy their products, process their products. It's those companies that are located here in Nebraska, at least headquartered or a significant presence here, that we want to feature in our branding campaign, Nebraska Straight from the Good Life. Their products may be food products, maybe bulk grain commodity products. They may be farm equipment or irrigation equipment, or maybe services that they provide here in the United States, but also can offer those services like for genetics and other things throughout the world. We really expect this program to be something that serves those companies and in turn serves Nebraska and our farmers and ranchers. We want it to be useful for the companies so they can promote themselves. We want it to be useful for the potential customers so they can be educated and informed about what Nebraska has to offer and about what these companies have to offer to serve their consumers and the people that those companies overseas are trying to feed and provide services for. So this will be mostly electronic, but we can make printed copies. And basically what it is, each company gets one page dedicated to their company. They can provide all the information that they want to, whether it's about the history of their company, where they're located specifically in Nebraska, what the sales contact information is for their salespeople, and the products they offer, and where they're going to offer those. Sometimes companies specifically market to certain areas of the world, and this will help not only us as Department of Agriculture as we go out and promote these companies and products, but also help those consumers if they're online and they can find out the information about the potential customers, potential companies, I should say, that provide the services that they're looking for. So we hope that this is basically, again, useful for the companies to promote themselves and useful for our potential customers. We also plan to use this with our governor trade missions, Department of Ag trade missions. We'll make this open to whoever we meet with in any of these trade missions. We'll share them with the Department of Economic Development and other government agencies. And really, hopefully, this is a useful tool that brings in light to potential customers what Nebraska has to offer. Currently, we have over 30 companies that have committed to participating in this branding company. We are actively searching for more. Part of the purpose of this press briefing is to let other companies in Nebraska that are interested, that maybe we haven't reached out to yet, or if we have reached out to them, maybe remind them that this is going on as an opportunity that the Department of Agriculture and Governor Ricketts is offering to these companies. So for more information on the program, or if you're a company that wants to participate in the program, please go to nda.nebraska.gov/goodlife. And we look forward to utilizing these materials, promoting our agricultural companies from Nebraska, and remember Nebraska straight from the good life. Thank you.
I forgot to do that earlier today, so I remember to do my spray here, the sanitizer. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it. And again, you know, agriculture is our #1 industry here in the state, and actually, this is all pulled together really well because, of course, on Friday, the State Fair opened, and that highlights the contributions agriculture makes to our state as our number one industry. 1 in 4 jobs in our state are tied back to agriculture. And it's been a tough time with commodity prices, and last year we had the flooding and trade disruptions and the pandemic and everything. So it's been a tough time for agriculture right now. And so I want to thank Director Wellman and his deputy, Amelia Brining, for working on this to be able to roll out, which I think is also a really, really sharp logo there. I love that logo, to be able to help our Nebraska companies. And again, in Nebraska, we are known for agriculture. It's the heart and soul of what we do. We are number 1 when it comes to ag receipts per capita in the country. We're number 2 in ethanol production and cattle on feed, number 3 in corn, number 4 for soybeans, number 5 for all ag receipts, just gross ag receipts, and then number 6 for hogs and pigs. So you can see that when it comes to these staples, Nebraska really, really is a leader. And so we want to continue to promote agriculture, whether it's through the state fair or through our Straight from Nebraska, Straight from the Good Life branding program, to be able to help grow agriculture here in our state. And as a part of that, this week, we got other kind of upcoming type events that are agricultural related. But first of all, tomorrow we're going to be celebrating the opening of the Mormon Canal Bridge up in the Niobrara. You may recall that is the bridge that kind of got floated downstream when we had the flooding last year. So we're very excited to be up there tomorrow to be able to open that new bridge. So that is going to be great for the folks in the area. And then on Thursday, I will be in Scottsbluff when we have a media availability with Ambassador Greg Dowd from our U.S. Trade Representative's Office. Again, obviously talking about the important work that they do to be able to help promote Nebraska products and so forth around the world. And then on Friday, we will also have a media availability here, right, Taylor? We're going to be in this room? Yep, we're going to be in here. And Secretary Perdue is going to be visiting our state. So we've got a lot of great folks that are coming to Nebraska this week, a lot of chances to talk about agriculture and how important it is for our state. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up to questions and answers. Taylor, I think you actually had some were coming in.
Yep, I have 2 questions from Walton. One is, do you have any decision around whether the state of Nebraska will participate in the extended benefits for unemployment benefits that include $300 extra a week?
So the question was, have we made any decision with regard to the additional unemployment benefits, the $300 extra a week that the federal government is offering to states? I believe our deadline is September 10th, so we have not made a decision with regard to that. We're still doing the analysis of whether or not we're going to offer that additional program.
And then he also wanted to know if you felt safe at the outdoor speech at the White House on Friday, and did you decide to get tested after the event?
So, and Don wants to know whether I felt safe at the outdoor event, and did I get tested afterwards? So, again, folks, it's a virus. You can't stop it from coming, but you can take precautions to be able to do that. And while we were there, we wore masks. I didn't wear my mask the entire time because it was also kind of hot and so forth. But the idea is you take precautions when everybody was kind of in their seats for a few hours and so forth. You're not going to have the mingling of the crowd and that sort of thing. So I did feel safe when we were at that event, and it was great to hear the president really outline all the different things that he was doing. And with regard to getting testing, I actually last got tested about a month ago, but we'll probably get tested again here in the not too distant future, just because I'm out and about in the public a lot. All right, anything else then, Taylor?
Nope, that's all.
That was it? Okay, questions from folks here in the room? Yeah, Martha.
Governor, the number of prisoners in our prison system who've tested positive for coronavirus, we've had now the state penitentiary in full quarantine, and we've had a number of staffers test positive. How big a concern is this outbreak?
So the question was, we've had some inmates get tested positive, and of course, we've got the resources to be able to offer testing to all of our inmates, and we'd already done that previously. In fact, we'd done that several months ago. And we've got a plan with regard to our Department of Corrections on how to manage this, so we're just going to be continuing to work our plan, and that's what Director Frakes has put in place. So I'm very confident he will just continue to manage this. Andrew.
Do you worry that it's a voluntary test and things like that? Is there a way you can make it mandatory to test everybody, or?
So the question was, it's a voluntary test. Is there any way we can make it mandatory? I don't believe we can make it mandatory. It is a voluntary test for the inmates to be able to do that. Again, just like anybody here in Nebraska, we make Test Nebraska available, and it's a voluntary thing, so same thing for the inmates.
And also, it seems like you were doing a pretty good job. Have you figured out how this got in there?
So the question was, we had done a really good job here in Nebraska as far as keeping the virus out of our correction system, especially compared to what we've seen maybe in some other states. And have we figured out how it got in? I don't know that we've done an analysis specifically, but again, one of the things folks we got to remember, it's a virus, right? It's just like the flu, right? We can't stop the flu from coming every year, but we take steps to mitigate it, right? We take our flu shots and so forth to be able to prevent the spread of flu. And this is the same thing with this virus. It's a virus, so it's always going to be looking to spread from person to person, and so you've got to take the steps like wearing a mask when you go into a store, washing your hands often, staying that 6 feet of distance. And there are going to be places where that's difficult to do it. Our correction system is one example. Long-term care facilities are another example. And so we put together special plans to be able to address those types of environments where we know it's going to be difficult to do that social distancing.
Have any of the inmates gone to Lincoln hospitals or other hospitals?
So the question was, has any of the inmates gone to Lincoln hospitals or any other hospitals? Not to my knowledge, but I'm going to look at the chief medical officer here. I don't believe so.
Hospitals, but they have their own facilities there at the prisons.
So, but Dr. Antoine says they have their own facilities there on site, and so unless it's going to be a really acute case, they'd be probably taken care of inside the correction system. Just like any other case, right? We try to treat on site. If it's a really acute case for this or anything else, we would then take the appropriate steps to move them to a hospital.
So on Friday, when the first inmate at the penitentiary was reported to be positive, I don't know whether he was the first ever at the penitentiary, but that was the latest. They said he didn't contact the authorities for several days. And at that time, there were 14 inmates that had tested positive throughout the whole system. Now, if these 29 people are all new and not included in that previous.
Well, I believe the 29 includes the 14 previous ones.
Okay,
We can double check that. Taylor, will you double check that? I believe the 29 includes the 14.
okay. So it's either doubled or tripled. So how big a deal is this?
Well, again, that's why, again, when we're talking about, again, the inmate did not report his symptoms, and that's why we do ask people to report their symptoms, not just in our correction system, but everywhere, right? If you start having those symptoms, we actually stay home, right? That's part of our rules we've had since the beginning. Stay home, go get tested, whatever. We do want people to do that, but it's generally going to be a voluntary thing. And that's why we can just continue to manage it. That's what Director Frakes has, is the ability to quarantine people, keep them away from other folks so that we limit the spread. But that's what we got to do, is just continue to manage this. Because it's a virus, it transmits from person to person, and there are going to be environments like our correction system where it's going to be difficult to do that. But we have that in long-term care facilities, and we have a plan for addressing long-term care facilities as well. Martha?
Governor, are you concerned, as Fred mentioned, that this one inmate did not report his symptoms immediately, and we've heard that inmates are reluctant to get tested because of, if they test positive, then there's quarantine, there's restrictions, further restrictions on what they can do and who they can associate with. And so are you concerned that we're not seeing the full picture in these institutions?
So the question was, am I concerned that we're not seeing the full picture in our correctional systems? Actually, I would say with regard to our Department of Corrections, because we monitor all the inmates and we have the availability to do testing, we probably have a better idea of what's going on in our Department of Corrections than, say, what we might have in other places. So, we'll just have to continue to manage it. We're certainly going to ask for the cooperation of the inmates. Just like the general public, we need to educate people about the importance of washing your hands and report, if you've got symptoms, reporting them so that we can keep you away from other people and slowing the spread of the infection. I mentioned that this was like the flu and that it's a virus. We can't stop it from coming, but it is more dangerous than the flu, and we do need to educate people about that so they take the appropriate steps. And that's what Director Frakes is doing with regard to the correction system. Andrew.
Now, just on the broader picture, it sounds like there are people that are gaming the tracing system. They're gaming the testing system by exactly doing that, not answering tracers, not getting tested.
So the question was, some people are not cooperating with contact tracing and so forth, once they test positive, and how do we address that? And again, I think part of it is education. Testing and contact tracing is the blocking and tackling of how you deal with any sort of epidemic. And so it really is important that members of the public or our inmates in the correctional system really cooperate with regard to that. So when you do have those symptoms that we've talked about, that fever, that cough, stay home. That's the first thing you should do. And then if you want to go get tested, we've got lots of opportunity to do that through Test Nebraska. But staying home for the recommended time period from the CDC so that you don't infect somebody else is going to be really important. And then if you are tested positive, cooperating with the contact tracers so that we know who else you may have infected. That's what it's really about. It's about making sure that we get people who have tested positive to isolate, and then anybody they may have infected, getting them to quarantine so that we're slowing the spread of the virus. And again, that's part of how we make sure we don't overwhelm our hospital capacity. Everybody has an opportunity and a responsibility to be able to do that by cooperating with contact tracers, so we encourage people to do that. But as you're all pointing out, we don't have a way to compel that. So we do need people to do the right thing, do your civic duty, take responsibility for yourself, and work with the contact tracers. And again, if they ask you to stay home so you don't infect somebody else.
And Dr. Antone, are you guys tracking that, how many people are hanging up or not answering? How many you don't get anything?
Dr. Anton, do you have the statistics with regard to how successful our contact tracers are? Because I know that the last data I saw, we were reaching out to 90% of the people that we got the information on the first day, and we were getting hold of about 45% of them that day, and then we were getting hold of about 63% of the contacts on that first day as well. So those are the last numbers that you had as well. So I would say that I don't know how that stacks up to other contact tracers, but I would say that general, our contact tracers are doing a good job of getting a hold of people and are working on getting them to, follow the rules with regard to either monitoring their systems or quarantining or whatever. Other questions? Everybody's got their head down? Yeah, Martha.
In Iowa, they are taking steps to close down some of the bars in areas where there's universities and colleges. Do you see a need to do anything similar here in Nebraska now that the college students are back?
So the question was, in Iowa, they're closing down bars and college towns. Do we need to do the same thing here in Nebraska? Again, what we're doing is, let's take a step back. What we've always talked about for the last 5 months is we're focusing on hospital capacity. So that is going to be our driver for any of the decisions we make. We've got lots of hospital capacity right now. We've got about 170 people in the hospital with coronavirus in our state out of about 4,000 hospital beds. So we've got lots of capacity. So I do not see the need to take any additional steps with regard to just because college is in. Now, we still have to continue to educate college students and say, hey, look, and trust me, again, I know. I was a college student. I know that the social aspects are a big part of college life. But we do need to ask our college students to follow the directions we've given with regard to, again, trying to stay that 6 feet away, wearing that mask when you go to, the store. If you're going to go to the bars or restaurants, you see one that's crowded, go someplace else. If you're at a party and you see it's crowded, that'd be a good opportunity to go to a different party. I know that kind of seems counterintuitive to why you go to a party, but that's actually what we're going to need folks to do while we're trying to slow the spread of the virus here. And of course, the university and all the organizations of higher education have plans in place to be able to help students distance, wearing masks and so forth. And that's what we need to do, is just continue to manage this virus. So I don't see a need to take the steps that they've taken in Iowa. Right here in Nebraska, we've got lots of capacity. Andrew.
And there's a legal challenge on the ballot language on the marijuana, medical marijuana. I mean, how much do you agree with that question about the vagueness of the language and opening this up?
So the question was, there's a challenge for there's a legal question on the ballot initiative for the marijuana, and how much do I agree with the vagueness of the language? We have attorneys in the state that are going to argue about this in front of a court, and the court will make the decision, so I'll leave that to their expertise with regard to it. But since you asked the question, Andrew, as you know, I there is no such thing as medical marijuana. This is not something that is going to be prescribed by a doctor. It's not going to be distributed through a pharmacy, right? These are dispensaries that will be in your communities. And we have seen the effect in other states when they do this. People show up to work stoned, and that puts them at greater risk for accidents on the job. We know that this has a huge impact on children. You know, their development, their cognitive development, their developing in their brain is impacted when they have access to marijuana. And we know that in states that have legalized it, that those rates go up. So this is not a benign thing. This is a dangerous thing. And that's why I certainly encourage Nebraskans to take a look at this, and obviously we'll see what the outcome of the lawsuits are.
But in the current situation, because of the Secretary of State's ruling, aren't you put in a little strange situation, you and the Attorney General, that you're going to have to argue defending that it goes on the ballot?
So the question, well, I don't have to argue that it goes on the ballot. I'm very much against this ballot initiative. But the Attorney General will be the one that makes the decision with regard to how he defends the Secretary of State's decision. So that's really an Attorney General issue. Yeah. Oh, you're just adjusting your camera? Okay.
I actually have a question for Director Wellman.
Director Wellman, can you come on up, please?
Sorry, bringing it back to ag.
No worries.
So the Taiwan president last week hinted at a potential trade deal with the U.S. What does Nebraska need to do to get on that with our beef and pork?
Great. So the question is that last week the Taiwan president talked about a potential trade deal with the United States, and what does Nebraska need to do in response to that? You know, Nebraska is pretty well situated with Taiwan. Just about a year ago, or less than a year ago, we hosted a trade delegation from Taiwan here in Lincoln, and many of our commodity organizations signed intent to purchase with those companies from Taiwan. So I think we're very well situated there. We're active in that area. Beef and pork, relief of those non-tariff trade barriers in Taiwan that would affect our beef and pork. That's a great opportunity for Nebraska to step in and provide our high-quality, safe products to that part of the world in a bigger way than we've been able to in the past. So we're very much watching that and hope and think it's a great opportunity for Nebraska. Thank you.
Anybody else for Director Wellman while he's up here?
I will mention real quick, we have a few printed brochures just for samples, if anybody's interested, that Amelia has in the back.
With that very sharp logo on it.
Yes.
For Ms. Wellman,
Okay.
you mentioned you're looking for more companies for this brochure. Do you have to pay to be a part of that, or sign up, or how does that work?
So the question is, we're looking for more companies to participate in the branding program, and do they have to pay to participate or not? No, totally free, totally their option. Contact the Nebraska Department of Agriculture, either give us a call or go online, nda.nebraska.gov/goodlife. And our team there, Amelia or Jordan, anybody on the staff will direct them to who they need to contact. And again, those companies provide their own information. They feature what they want to feature. They get to market themselves in a manner that's free to them and gives them equal opportunity from the other companies that are in this branding program. Martha?
Yes, so if I understand this correctly, this is a website and then a brochure where folks can go to learn about Nebraska companies. Are these companies going to be featuring the logo on their products, on their own websites and other kinds of marketing tools?
Sure. So Martha's asking whether the companies can feature the logo and the tagline on their products. And certainly it's offered to them. They can if they want to. We're very much aware that companies already have their brand established, but if they want to participate and be known with this brand also in whatever manner they want to, it's certainly an option that they can utilize, and again, no cost to them to be a part of this. You know, many times when we have trade missions, companies, representatives from these companies attend with us and are part of that trade mission. And this is just another great way to touch base with potential customers. And sometimes when you're talking about corn products, for example, or ethanol, or then you find out that there's other interests from these potential customers also. And I think it's a great segue to move to another product that a company may be offering that the end customer isn't necessarily aware of. But so we hope it opens up additional avenues for discussion on more products that are coming from these companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Other questions? Yeah.
Have you been able to make heads or tails out of the Big Ten football season at all?
So the question was, have I been able to make heads or tails out of the Big Ten football season? Well, I got to tell you, I think the Big Ten has made a mistake in the way they've handled this, to have their schedule come out and then to cancel it, and then to cancel all fall sports. I mean, think about this. That includes things like cross-country. Why are you canceling cross-country if you're worried about what may happen at football games? They're really very different sports. So I think that the Big Ten has taken a bad approach with regard to this, and I would certainly encourage the Big Ten to re-examine what they're doing with regard to this, because they're penalizing a lot of folks here. And again, I think this is all manageable. You know, we were putting in plans in place, working with the local public health department here in the University of Nebraska on what we would do to manage football games. It was going to look different from last year, right, because of the pandemic, but I think it was manageable. And that's what I think that the Big Ten should think about, is that some states are going to be impacted differently, and they should allow the different schools to be able to make that choice, given the facts on the ground in each locality, to make that determination on whether or not they could do those events. And so that's where I'd encourage the Big Ten to re-examine what they've done.
Would it cause any problems if they play football after Thanksgiving or in the winter?
So the question was, will it cause any problems to play football at Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving or in the winter? And again, that would be something that, you know, the Big Ten would have to manage and figure out how they were going to do it. But, you know, again, you'd have to, again, look, it's a pandemic. Things are going to go differently. We just have to manage it. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Again, folks, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just again, I want to remind everybody about our social distancing guidelines. Please, as you go out there, the virus is still there. Wear your mask when you go to the store. Wash your hands often. Stay 6 feet apart when you can. If you can't, wear a mask. And then avoid those crowded bars and restaurants and any other event where you see a lot of people. Always a good opportunity to be able to make sure you're doing all the right things. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody, and have a great rest of your week. And as said, we'll be up in the Niobrara tomorrow on Tuesday. We'll have Ambassador Dowd and Sonny Perdue later, Secretary Sonny Perdue later in the week. Have a great week. Thank you, Francis.